This is the Welcome to the Sky podcast, your place for conversations about the best thing in the world, flying. I'm LewDix, your host and friend, as we talk about everything from flight training, aviation news, how to become a better pilot, and much, much more. I've got a lot to say, so sit back, relax, and let's get this thing off the ground on the Welcome to the Sky podcast.
Alright boys and girls, welcome to another podcast episode. Now, again, it's been a little bit since the last one, but I'll also apologise for the terrible image quality and lack of background. We're in the middle of moving apartment, so we're getting things ready, and I had to take all the lights down and the backdrop behind me. Not that it was the best backdrop in the world, but I use this podcast sparingly, it seems. When I've got something to say about aviation, this is where I like to do it. I like to sit down and have a good chat and kind of let you know my thoughts on stuff. And I consider myself to be a decent CFI. I try my best to make the safest and most conscientious, skillful pilots that I possibly can. And I think it's a collaborative effort between the person receiving instruction and the person giving instruction. For me, it goes for everybody in flight training, anybody who's ever set foot into the aviation world and has wanted to be a pilot has had to have an instructor at a flight school that will teach them the correct way. And when things come up that I see are not being done quite correctly, it pisses me off. So you've seen a very pissed off LewDix Aviation today. We're going to talk about why, because I was sent a Reddit today, and it was of a memo from a flight school around here in Orlando. I'll leave the link to the Reddit in the description of the YouTube video. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you're not going to be able to see the memo on screen, because I will put it on screen. But you can go back to the YouTube video and see the link and have a look at the Reddit and read all the comments. I won't say the name of the flight school. You can go and see that for yourself on Reddit. But this is a memo, and it's about a cancellation policy. It says, to accurately predict equipment availability and efficiency in the schedule, we are adopting a new cancellation policy. If the weather conditions are at or better than the limitations, a cancellation is considered non-excusable. Below are some weather minimum criteria. Private events, so for private pilot certificate. Pattern operations. Visibility, 3 statute miles. Ceiling, 1,500 feet. Local, within 25 nautical miles. Visibility, again, 3 statute miles. Ceiling, 2,000 feet. It actually doesn't say that, it says 0.2. Cross country, visibility, 3 statute miles for a cross country. 3 statute miles. Again, ceiling, 2,000 feet. 2,000 foot ceiling for a cross country. Really? Instrument flights. For a flight not requiring VFR maneuvers, lowest minimums for the appropriate runway and approach in use. So you can go down to minimums on an approach. I'm not necessarily against that, but we'll get onto it in a second. Crosswinds exceeding demonstrated crosswind of an aircraft, or, well, at least there's some common sense. There are gusts greater than 10 knots. Whew, there's a lot to unpack here, and then there's a lot to unpack in this next little paragraph. Be creative in your plan of action. Filing out IFR or changing routes to avoid deteriorating weather or thunderstorms. Be sure to use all available weather resources, included but not limited to local news reports, because I know the first thing that the FAA ask when you've landed in a field next to a cow munching on its breakfast is, did you look at the local news to get your weather report? Absolutely. I called in, just give them your tail number, give them your name, and say that you've seen the news this morning. That's considered acceptable, apparently, to this flight school. But listen, that's a joke. Don't do that. Aviationweather.gov, ForeFlight, etc. In the event your flying proficiency does not meet the current weather, please speak to your training group manager concerning a plan of action. No flight should be flown in the area of a convective SIGMET without the approval of the chief flight instructor or the designee. So you can still go and fly around a convective SIGMET if one's issued. No problem. Wow. All thunderstorms must be avoided by a margin consistent with safety. All severe thunderstorms should be avoided by at least 20 nautical miles. So still, while there's thunderstorms around, still fly around it. Just be as safe as you possibly can. And if it's severe, then go with the 20 nautical mile rule. Please direct any questions, comments, or concerns to myself, blah, 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 blah. Now, the thing that gets me after all this, it's signed off with fly safe. The biggest load of bullshit. That is incredible. Just to let this sink in, they're saying that basically if a pilot or a student, even if they're not comfortable with it, they still have to go and fly if the visibility is 3 statute miles for VFR. Look, there's this whole thing in flight training, and if you're listening or watching this and you've not started flight training yet, please don't let this scare you about aviation. There's some instructors and some places out there that will teach you the right way and teach you to create what we call personal minimums. For example, I'll give you one of my personal minimums. For cross-country flying, I will not do any cross-country flying if the ceiling is less than 2,500 feet and the visibility is less than 5. So already I'm going against the cancellation policy at this particular flight school. So I would be reprimanded and spoken to and probably charged if I didn't feel like going flying in those conditions, and being punished for having a personal minimum higher than what they're saying. I find that goes against everything that you're supposed to be taught in aviation about keeping things safe. On your check ride, for your private pilot check ride, and maybe any check ride really, you're going to get asked about creating personal minimums and the importance of doing so. It all circles back to keeping yourself, other pilots, and everybody safe. That's what it circles back to. And this memo completely goes against that, and it's absolutely deplorable. I did some Instagram stories as soon as I saw it, just now actually, which is why I've decided to come on and do a podcast and kind of talk about it, to share it with a wider audience, because I think that the message that I want to spread here is nothing trumps safety. If you feel like doing something in certain weather conditions, or even if you're not feeling well that day, if you're feeling a little bit under the weather, pardon the pun, you don't go and fly. You make that decision to not go and fly, and you don't let anybody dictate what you're comfortable with. That's a big thing that I do with my students. If I'm looking at the weather reports and it's showing a little bit iffy, I'll put it to my student. What do you think? What in your mind is a logical decision to make based on the reports here? But I feel like that's what an instructor is there to do, to support and to coach, not to, a flight school shouldn't be there to tell you, hey, I don't care if you're not comfortable flying in these conditions, you're going anyway. I don't think there's any excuse for that. I think it goes against aviation safety. I feel like it's a detriment, and it's absolutely deplorable for a flight school to put a memo out like that. Now, why are they doing that? One simple reason: to put more money in the pocket. The first line of that memo says to accurately predict equipment availability and efficiency in the schedule. All that's saying is that all they care about is keeping their aircraft flying. Let's be honest, they don't make money when they're sat on the ground, unless that propeller's spinning. I'm surprised they're not telling people, in bad conditions, even if there's a thunderstorm around, just start the engine, go and sit next to the runway, do a run-up for 3 hours, and then come back in. You still log the flight time. That's literally all this is. It's to milk the students, which is, if you've known me, and anybody watching this, anybody listening to this is one major reason that you will never see me working for a flight school. I did it for a long time, and I saw these kinds of things happening. Honestly, never saw a memo like this. I can't remember a time at the flight school that I was at where I was reprimanded for cancelling a flight because of weather. But yeah, that's what this memo serves for. It serves to say, we don't give a shit if you're not comfortable. You're keeping our aircraft flying, and you're keeping paying us money. That's incredibly bad for the aviation community, and bad for the students at that flight school. Imagine waking up one morning as the student, looking out the window and seeing very low visibility, 3 miles. I don't know if you've ever flown in 3 miles visibility. 3 miles visibility is not a lot. And to say that you can still go and fly across country as a private pilot student and as a private pilot at 3 miles visibility is incredible. I would be bouncing off the walls if one of my students said that they were comfortable going flying in 3 miles visibility on a cross-country solo. Like, my endorsements that I give, I never give an endorsement with anything close to the legal minimums. You might think this is really stringent, but these are the hard minimums that I give my students to solo: 10 miles visibility and 3,000 foot ceilings, regardless of what type of flying it is, whether it's in the traffic pattern, whether it's across country. I'm not having it. I'm not sending my people out there to fail. to have something happen because they're in a condition that they're not comfortable with. It's not happening. Can't believe that in 2024, with the emphasis that the FAA put on aviation safety, that this has come out. And I shouldn't even be able to talk about this, but it's been posted all over Reddit. And honestly, I would never usually do something like this to out people, but I think it needs to, because it's just a detriment to aviation safety completely. It's just ridiculous. They don't care about keeping the students safe. Further down the line, they get through the training unscathed with policies like this. They get through the training, and then after the training, and they're out there in the world on their own, and then they're presented with a decision to make. This is what they've been brought up with, these kinds of policies. So what kinds of decisions are they going to make down the line? They're going to make risky decisions based on, policies that they went through training with, and that's what they've learned first. Principle of primacy. That's crazy. Imagine this is the precedent that's being set by a flight school, a very reputable flight school, like a massive flight school. I can't believe it. This part gets me as well. Be creative in your plan of action. Filing out IFR or changing routes to avoid deteriorating weather or thunderstorms. So basically saying that, even if there is a thunderstorm rolling in, even if it is low visibility, just file IFR, get out of the airport area, and then figure it out on your own. Yeah, if you need to divert, but at least you've still got the aircraft engine rolling. Those hobs are going, and we're going to bill your account when you get back, if you get back. But regardless, you're out there, so we've made an extra $150, $200 off you. It's fine. We'll come and salvage the plane if something happens anyway. So still, if it's shit weather, still go out and fly. Still pay us a load of money. Can't tell you how annoyed this has made me that this is happening, but it just goes to show why flight schools, man. Flight schools, they've got a lot of planes, massive overhead. I completely understand having to make money, but you don't make money at the expense of safety. You just don't do it. You can't afford to do that in aviation. Hopefully you all agree with me. Reddit certainly does. Let's read some comments on Reddit, actually, shall we? 2003 for cross country. Screw that, seriously. Are you supposed to fly long distance at 1,500 AGL? At the end of it, they signed off with fly safe. That fly safe at the end is like a taunt, a challenge. Yeah. I saw those numbers and was like, Scud Run Academy of Flight. Did you see fit to make that joke? All right, we got some geeky pilot jokes going on. Probably from Riddle. They sleep in the Foggles. Easily the worst flight school I've ever encountered. For reference, I'm an air traffic controller in Central Florida. I've said for years now that the weather they're flying is going to get someone killed. That's crazy. Most EPs will fail an applicant if they told them they'd do a VFR cross-country with 3 statute miles and 2,000-foot ceilings. Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. I can only imagine, if I was a DP and I was asking a student, okay, your weather minimums, the weather currently is this. Tell me about your personal minimums. And they say, yeah, it's fine. I go in 3 statute miles and 2,000-foot ceilings. My flight school says that, if I cancel, then I'm going to get charged. And I don't want to get charged. So what were those hazardous attitudes again? Resignation? I mean, I think this chief pilot should give in his resignation, honestly, after putting this memo out. That's incredible. Worst part is obtain weather from local news reports. Well, yeah, that's it. Again, I hope my disgust at this has come across in this little podcast episode. I think it's despicable. It's deplorable. It's against aviation safety. It goes against what all the good CFIs and the good flight schools are trying to do for aviation to keep the airspace safe for not only the people actually flying, at flight schools, but everybody else that's sharing the airspace with them. If you've got people out there that are being taught to make bad decisions, that doesn't just stop at making a decision to go and fly in 3 miles visibility. It goes with as well making risky decisions while you're actually flying with other stuff. So it's a massive detriment to safety, and I think it needs to be stopped. Let me end with this. If you're a prospective student, if you are somebody that's in training, if you are watching this and you're an ATP level airline pilot, big bad captain at the biggest airline in the world, doesn't matter who you are. At the end of the day, as a pilot, you have decisions to make. The decisions that you make should be based on what you feel comfortable with as the pilot, what you want to go and do, or what you don't want to go and do. Your personal minimums are your minimums. Don't feel bad or guilty for having high personal minimums. It's what you're comfortable with. Your personal minimums are different than my personal minimums. Fact of the matter is, though, nobody else sets those minimums for me. And, if you are at one of these flight schools that are doing things that you don't agree with, please stop giving them your money and get out of there. People deserve better than to be taught like this. But that's it. That's all I've got to say. Just be safe. Do the logical thing. It seems like by the Reddit and everybody else commenting on this thing that everybody has common sense apart from the flight school. Work that one out. That's a shock, innit? But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Welcome to the Sky podcast, please consider leaving it a like. I find it ridiculous that this is something that I've thought I have to sit down and tell my people about and kind of spread the word that aviation safety should be taken seriously. Like that's incredible to me that this is the thing that this has happened. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Like it, subscribe, and continue watching my videos. Got some cool stuff coming up. So yeah, cool. See you next time.